Welcome back over to the second episode of our item series, and I just wanted to start this one off by saying thank you to everyone that watched the first episode, and well, for tuning in for this episode. And if you really want to help me out, give this video a big thumbs up and share it on your social media, just so other people can find it and know that the new series is up. Anyway, let's go ahead. We'll jump right back into our scripting. So we started off, we went ahead and made a couple of interfaces and a couple of scripts to go with those interfaces. The next thing I wanted to work on was actually just start jumping into creating editors. And we're going to be using the quality class for that. We're going to build that one first. So to start off with, I'm going to go create the database. So C# script, and I just like to call it whatever it is. This is going to be the IS quality database. We'll go ahead, we'll open this one up and get rid of everything in here. And before we go any further, I actually wanted to start using namespaces. I completely forgot about it in the last video, so we're going to start now. So the namespace that I'm going to use, since it's for my project, I'll start off with BurgZerg Arcade. Then I'm going to go ahead and give it a subspace of, well, let's call it item system. I'll come down here and it'll automatically indent everything for me. And I'm actually going to quickly copy this into my other scripts. Come down to the bottom. And it automatically does the indenting for you. Go ahead and save that one off. Luckily, I remember before we got too far in. And one down there. Save that one off. And I'm actually going to close the ones I'm not going to be using anymore either, at least not this episode. We got quality. I'm going to keep that one open. Go ahead, put that one there. We'll have to fix some of the spacing later, but that's okay. Well, let's do it now because it's going to bother me. And we'll be using that one. And of course, we'll hit this one. Whoops, this one. There we go. Everything's in its space. And I will not be using this, so I'm going to go ahead and save it off, and we'll just close it. And I'll leave this one open for now. We'll jump right back into our database script. And to create our database, all we're really going to be doing is creating a list. But to do that, we're going to go ahead and add another using statement up here. And we're going to need system dot collections. No, one more down. Dot generic. We're going to come in here, create a list. The type that we're going to contain is IS quality. Make sure it's not IIS. And I'm just going to call this DB. It's our database. And actually, while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and make it equal to a new list of IS quality. Save that off here. Quickly jump into Unity. We do have an error here. Missed that one. All right. Any other errors? No, just line endings. All right. So we got that down. Go back to the, well, we're not going to need this. I like to close it if we're not using it. And this is the basic form that what you need for it. But for the way we're going to be using it, we're going to want to take this and instead of being a mono behavior, we're going to make it a scriptable object. Now it's important to note that scriptable objects are great for storing data to while you're in your editor, and you can go ahead and save this off into your scriptable object. And at runtime, you can load this up and grab things from it and instantiate from it, but you can't actually add anything to it or change the things that are in it. So it's great for storing stuff. Not so great if you want to be changing stuff on the fly, but it's fast for just storing that stuff. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to play around with that. Next, we're going to want to make our editor scripts. We'll head back into Unity. And we're in the item system. We got the scripts. Right in this folder here, underneath scripts, I'm going to go ahead and make another folder. Now for your editor scripts, these are scripts that exist only in the editor. We want to make sure Unity doesn't include them in the final build. So we're going to make the editor folder and put them in here. And I'm going to create another script here. And since it's the editor for the quality database, I'm going to call it IS quality. Well, we don't need the IS in this one, but I'll put it there just for consistency. Quality database. No, come on, fingers. Sucks to get old. Anyway, so the quality database editor. Sounds good to me. We'll go ahead and open this up. It gets annoying after a while, but all right, we got this done. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of everything that's in here too. I like to start fresh. And we're not gonna be inheriting from mono behavior. This time around, we're actually gonna be inheriting from editor window. And in order to get editor window, we gotta come up here. And I like to add it at the top. It doesn't really matter where you add it. We'll have to include the namespace for Unity Editor, because that is where the editor window is. Bam. All right, we got that saved. Of course, while we're here, guess what we're going to add it to? That's right. Can't remember if I used capital in the A. I believe I did. I wish it had some sort of autocomplete here. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this in even another sub in the editor section. Everything in the editor section will not be included in the final build. But I just want to make sure I got this here part right. So we're going to go ahead, go over here. And I should have just done this to begin with. But hey. BurgZerg. You know you're getting old when your typing starts to stutter. All right. So we got that done. We're going to come down here, and the first thing we want to do is think of how we want it to work in the menu system in Unity. Now, you don't have to have it work up there, but it makes it so much easier. So what I'm talking about is the stuff up here. So when, for instance, when you come down here, you have these little hotkeys you can use to do stuff. We want to define one for our system. And I think I'm going to use Shift Control I or Shift Command I if you're on a Mac. So let's go and we'll set that up first. So to do that, you want to say menu, item. Then you actually want to give it the path, which we're going to put in here. And we'll just close this off. Now the path we want to do, basically you work your way down through the menus. I'm going to go ahead and create a new menu at the top. And I'm going to say BZA, that's my top menu. Then the second menu under that will be database. And then the name of this entry in that last menu will be quality editor. If you go look at the Unity documentation, they have a little bit more on these little hotkeys I'm going to use. The percent, pound, R is, oh, not R, sorry, I is what I'm going to be using to basically bring this editor script up with my Shift Control I. All right, so once we've got that typed in, we need a function underneath it that's going to be called when this particular key combination is hit. So I'm just going to call it init, but it has to be static as well. So we'll say public static void does not return anything, init. Now this is what's called when that key combination is struck. So we're going to go ahead in here and set it up that we, well, basically that we create a window that is displayed. So the type of window that we're going to display is whatever the type of this script is. We're just instantiating itself. So I'm going to cut and paste that, or you copy and paste. And we need a name for the window, which I will just call window. And it's going to be equal to editor window dot get window. And we want to have a type. And of course, this type is going to be IS quality database editor. We'll close that off. And I got a few more parameters underneath I like to add. Some of these you can add into the constructor itself of the windows. I just like to have them on separate lines. It just makes it easier for me if I want to come back and change them later. I know exactly, you know, it's just quicker for me to see it this way. So the first thing I want to change is the min size. Basically, how small can this window be? And this is just simply a vector 2. So we'll set up a vector 2, and the min size that I want, obviously this is width by height. I'm going to start with 400 by 300. Next is the title of my window. We'll go over to the title, and this just takes a string. And I'm going to call mine, I guess we'll just call it quality database. That's probably too big to fit across, but that's fine. And last, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the show, which basically just shows the window. And as you can see here, there's a lot of them that we can put in. But that should be enough. I'm going to go ahead and save this. We'll head back into Unity. Let's see if there's any errors that pop up. None. Now it can take a few seconds before your window pops up here, or your menu entry. Come on. I don't know if there's a magic way to do it. Sometimes re-importing. Oh, never mind. There we go. So as you can see, it goes from BZA to database to quality editor and Control-Shift-I. Again, on a Mac, it would be Command-Shift-I. Let's go ahead. We'll click it. Pops up our window for us. And we'll notice here it's a regular window. As you can see, you can dock it anywhere you want. For now, I'm going to keep mine free floating. You can expand the size, but you can't go any smaller than what we had predefined. And of course, make sure to check out that hotkey, because that works as well. So let's go. We'll jump back into our script. All right. So in order to edit items in that database, we're going to have to get a reference to it. So I'm going to come up to the top here, and we call it IS Quality Database. And I'm just going to call this DB. 3 spaces. And I'm going to come down underneath the void init, and we're going to use the good old onEnable function. So void onEnable. This is given to you automatically. And in here, I want to go ahead and check to see if we've actually have an instance of the database or not. And if we don't, go ahead and create one. So if DB is equal to null, so if we do not have a reference to it, we'll go ahead and create one. So DB is equal to Scriptable Object. There's a couple scriptables in there. I haven't used Scriptable Singleton before. But anyway, Scriptable Object dot. Now, we want to create an instance as opposed to instantiating a new. We don't want to use new. We want to use create instance. And we're going to go ahead and define a type, IS Quality Database. And we're actually going to need braces here because there's a few things we actually have to do. Next up, we want to go ahead and use Asset Database. Now, Asset Database will not work at runtime, so it's great to use in your editor scripts, but keep in mind that you can't use it in a script that runs at runtime. Now we want to go ahead and call create asset. And we see here it takes an asset as well as a path. Now we already know what the asset is we want to save, right? We want to save DB. And the asset path, we don't actually have one yet, so we're actually going to have to go ahead and define one. And we could do it down in enable, just create something local. I'm just going to go ahead and create a static up at the top here. Or we'll do it as a constant. So I'm going to come up here and say const string, and I'm going to say data base path. And it's going to be equal to something. We'll have the escapes in there. And this is going to be relative to your actual, where your asset folder is. So we're going to start off saying assets. This is the asset folder that all of your project's in, at least the assets for your project. Now the path that you want to go to your database folder, wherever it is that you want it to save to, I want to create a separate folder called, what do we want to call it? Well, for now, let's just call it databases. Or we'll just leave it singular. Database, and then the name that we actually want to call this file itself. And just so there's no confusion, I'm going to go ahead and call it BZA quality database. You want to make sure that it's unique, and I'm pretty sure no one else is going to be making a BZA quality database asset anytime soon. So we'll put the asset on the end, and let's make sure we spelled const right. Go ahead and save this off. I'll copy paste this down here. All right, we got our path. We'll go ahead, we'll save that off. And then we can just come down here and say asset database dot save assets. Let's go ahead and save this off. Go back into Unity. I'll go to the assets folder here. No errors, that's great. We'll go ahead and hit the hotkeys for it. And we get an error. Execute menu item target for layout does not exist. It's actually the first time I've had that. Parent directory, okay, that's the error because the parent directory does not exist. We have to create a function to check to see if that directory exists, and if not, go ahead and make it. And then, of course, it can't find it, so we got to take care of that as well. So let's go ahead, and we'll start working on this first one. We'll jump back into our script. So I'm going to come up to the top here above the if null. I'm going to do a quick check here and say that db equals asset, come on, database dot load asset at path. Is it assets or asset? Pretty sure it's asset. Yeah, we're just loading one up. And as we see here, it's looking for a path and then the type. So the path we already have, it's database path. And then for the type, we're just going to say type of, and give the type, which is the type of the database, which is IS quality database. And as sometimes I have it not typed properly, so I always end up coming out here and just doing it again. There we go. So we're doing the initial load. If it can't load it, it's going to go ahead and I guess we'll create that path. We just check to make sure that the directory path is available. So we'll say if asset database dot is valid folder, and then we need a way to actually get the folder path. We'll take a look here. So we're actually going to break up this string that we have up here. Where is it? Right here. We're going to break it up into, I guess, 3 different parts. The prefix, the actual folder, and then the file name itself. So I'm just going to quickly close that off. I'll put a string in here just so we stop getting an error. And we'll go up to the top and fix that. And we're going to need another. I just want to make sure I don't have any errors here just from this one line of code. So we'll go ahead and we'll save that. We'll jump back up to the top. And let's go ahead and we'll change this around so that it's a little bit more well broken up. Okay, so we're going to break it up. We're still going to use constant strings for now. So constant string, and I guess we'll say file underscore name. And that's going to be equal to the last part of the string. Put that there. We'll append it on here. Great. We need the folder name. So const string all right, and the folder name is going to be database, I guess. So we'll go ahead and copy that. Go ahead and post that right in here. That means we can go like this. And in here say folder name. There we go. So we're reconstructing here, but we've managed to break out the file name and the folder name. Now, of course, if you wanted to have different like subfolders, you could do that as well. But for now, we're just going to stick to the one folder. And we're going to come down to the is folder. And we'll have to check this. And I believe it's actually, let me just quickly check here. I'm pretty sure actually you have to include the assets as well. So I'm going to do it with the assets just to see. And that should be enough here. I actually want to change the folder name to database folder name. So let's quickly redo this. This is going to be database folder name. Just a little bit more descriptive. And we'll do it here as well. Instead of path, I'm going to call it full path. There we go. That should be a little bit more descriptive for us. And of course, remember, by refactoring at the top where they're first instantiate or first declare, that'll actually go through and change anywhere that it's referenced. All right, so we're going to go through, and actually we want to see if the folder does not exist. So we want a little not sign there. And if it doesn't exist, we want to go ahead and actually create that folder. And we can do that with one line of code. It's asset database dot create folder. And what folder we want to be in? We want to be in assets. And let's take a quick look here. I don't know how to create this as I have a template already created. So the parent folder and the new folder name. So assets is the parent folder. And the new folder name is going to be database folder name. Now we'll go ahead and create the folder. Then we're going to go ahead and create the database. And we can actually go ahead and move all this up into here. One line of code that I always seem to put in, I'm not really sure if it's needed, but I always add it, and that's a refresh. It even has an overload. I've never actually looked at the overload. Import asset options. Okay, well, whatever. I don't believe this line is actually needed, but it's just one of those ones I always put in anyway. So after I'm done, I go back into Unity. Let's take care of any errors that pop up. We don't have any there. And we'll go ahead, we'll try it out here. And it started, we did not get any errors. It did create a database folder for us. And if we open up, here we go. We have our scriptable object quality database, or BZA quality database. And here it is up here. Now we actually can't do anything with it. If you look, there's nothing showing up here. And we can change it so that something does show up there. Normally I don't have it show up on the side in the inspector here as far as what you can do with it, because I don't want people playing around with stuff with it over here. I want them to be forced to use the editor that I made, because I can put in error correction and any sort of validation that I need in the editor, and it's a lot harder to do over here. So we'll go ahead, we'll jump in, and let's go head over to the database. And if we just went ahead, come on, and made this a serialized field, I'm going to go ahead and put it on a separate line. And it's on a separate line, but it really means the next line under it. The reason why I'm keeping this one on a separate line and not putting it on the same line is I want to be able to comment it out. So we'll save it, head back into Unity, and wait for it to reload. Do I have to recreate it possibly? Let's try that. Didn't think I did. Unity's hanging up there for a second. I'm not sure what that was all about. I don't think I've done anything incorrectly. Delete the folder. Recreate the folder. We're going to have to take a look at that. It's not creating. Oh, there we go. Helps if I guess if I double click it. Still not showing up. Let me go take a look here. That's fine. It should be fine. Oh, did we forget to set this to be serializable? We did. We have to come into this class here, and we have to make this class serializable. That just means that will show up on the side. There's a couple ways we can do it. We can come down here and use system. We can include that. I don't like including system, but if we did, we can come down here and just say this is now, well, not above the namespace. We want to go above the class. Nope, square brackets. And we go ahead and make it serializable. I don't like to include system for this though. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of system. And just tell it the namespace that this belongs to if we notice it's gone red here. So I just use system serializable. It's the exact same thing. I'm going to copy it because we have to put it into the other class we made. Now, it's the exact same, but I just like it better that way. I don't know why. I just do. So I'm going to go ahead, jump into Unity again. Click on our database, and now we have the database. So we can actually come in here and start actually editing the database itself. So let's say we had 3 entries. It's going to make 3 elements for us. As you see here, it's just not very nice. There's a few things you do to clean this up, make it look a little bit nicer, but I just don't like it. So let's say the first one's common. We can go ahead and drag a sprite in. And the second one, third one. I want an editor. I want to be able to open this window and do everything in here where I can also put in that validation and error correction as well. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this line. So now when I save it off, it's gone. You can't see it. And there was something here. I think I screwed this up. Let me check here. Now if we go ahead and open it up. Yeah, so what's happening is that it's going, hey, the path exists. So we're not going to make the database. That's not quite the behavior we wanted. This one here, wasn't it? No, sorry, it was in this one at the end here. So we're going to go ahead and try to load it. If it does not load, check to see if the path is valid. If the path is not valid, go ahead and create the database. And then after that, after the data or the path, sorry, has been created, then try to load the database. Well, I guess create the database, I should say. There we go. So again, reiterate, load database, at least attempt to load database. Check to see if we actually loaded the database. If we did not load the database, check to see if the path for our database is valid. If it's not valid, go ahead and create the path, then go ahead and create the database. We want to make sure that we're actually creating the asset in the asset database on Unity as well. We're going to save it, and then we have that extra line. I'm pretty sure if you comment this out, it'll still work, but if for some reason it's just got ingrained in my mind that you always put it there. So I do. It refreshes the database for me. I'm not too worried about 100% efficiency as far as creating editor scripts go, because this all runs in the editor anyway. Your player's never going to see any of this stuff. One quick check here. So we got the database folder. Well, play will do nothing. Go ahead and open up the editor again. And there we go. Even though we had the folder, it created it for us. So we got the database created. We got it created in the place we want. We got the database holding the stuff we want it to hold. And I think that's actually probably a good spot to end this one here. When we come back, we're going to continue on with our editor scripting. And let's actually start making some fields in here that we can start editing. Thanks for watching, everyone. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.